All right, so greetings, everyone. Now, I'm gonna full disclosure. The original plan for this video was gonna go into an in-depth dive into advanced spell stacking, or as we call it in the Shades of Dominion, spell twining. But I'm going to do that tomorrow because to understand tomorrow, you need to understand what we're going to cover today. And today we're going to cover the different types of spells in the Shades of Dominion. Now, like Magic the Gathering, the Shades of Dominion does also have different types of spells. And spell twining, which we will learn about tomorrow, is about combining these different kinds of spells together and how that works. So let's begin with the core rulebook entry for these different spells. There it is. Now, there are four kinds. There's unchanneled spells, there are channeled spells, there are aspects, and there are shade summons. Now, those are terms that some of you might instinctively, if you played Magic the Gathering, pretty much guessing as to what each of these are in practicum. But we're going to give a few examples and we're going to state what they are. Unchanneled spells are spells that the Shade Mage can cast as a free action at any time. Whether it's your turn, whether it's not your turn, whether it's in the middle of combat, whether it's just in the midst of adventuring, these are spells that can be cast whether it is or is not your turn as a free action. And this is people are like, well, what about the rolls? In the Shades of Dominion, you do not roll for spells. You just don't. If you have the shade, you pay it, and then the spell happens. That's how it's done in the Shades of Dominion. Then you have channeled spells, which you can only cast on your turn, and they are all half actions. Now, all the rest of these spells, whether they're aspects, whether they're channeled, whether they're aspects, whether they're shade summons, all of these are still technically channeled spells. They still require a half action. It's just a matter of how they vary after that one particular effect. The third are aspect spells, which remain active after being cast and are also channeled spells. Shade summons. Now, most of you have already figured out what shade summons are. They're creature cards. They're monsters and minions used to combat your enemies, and are also channeled spells. A shade summon fights by the side of a shade master until the immediate threat is gone or its task is complete. Only a shade mage's champion can accompany a shade master outside of combat or special actions. Now, here's what's really cool about the Shades of Dominion. Shade summons may also be used, and they can be used, to perform skill tests on behalf of the Shade Mage. You can use a shade summon to be like a virtual doppelganger, if you will. And when they perform these skill tests on your behalf, whether it's stealth, whether it's lockpicking, whether it's diplomacy, even, if you want to go that far, they use the Shade Mage's skill stats to do so. They are your avatars. They are magic. They are, in a sense, mystical in that regard. So, once again, just to cover basic examples from the game, unchanneled examples of unchanneled spells are the following, like brainstorm. It's an instant. Unchanneled spells are instant. They can be played at any time. They can be cast at any time. For channeled spells, we have they're your sorceries. They can only be played on your turn. That's it. They're generally far more powerful in effect, but they only cost a half action, which is, as most of you know, it's an attack action. You can cast a channeled spell and attack on the same turn. Still pretty nifty, but they cannot be cast freely. That's the difference. Aspect spells, for those of you who are familiar, are enchant creatures or creature enchantments. These are spells that you attach to either a shade summon or to another NPC or even to another player. They are aura spells, to use the more modern language of Magic the Gathering. And the last one is, of course, the creature spell, which is the basic ornithopter we saw later this week or earlier this week. Uh, that's a shade summon, the basic contraption. The the meat and the bread and potatoes of those who wish to summon as their style of spell slinging or shade throwing. And this knowledge is important because tomorrow I'm going to show you in the Shades of Dominion how you spell twine, how you take a an enchant creature, an aspect spell, and add either an unchanneled or channeled spell to it, or how you can just throw on an aspect spell on top of a shade summon. That's what we're going to be going over tomorrow. So just to understand that as a fundamental basis of the terminology and what we'll be doing tomorrow with advanced spell stacking, or as we call it in the book, spell twining two spells together. Because when you're stacking unchanneled spells or channeled spells onto one another, there's no change. Now, let's say you want to combine an unchanneled spell to a channeled spell, but you want that spell to remain unchanneled. There are additional steps, there are additional costs, of course. And so we're going to be going over all of that tomorrow. And I hope to see you all there for the advanced spell stacking class. And I will see you all then. Don't forget to remember to throw some shade and have some fun. And go ahead and like and share the video. Let people know that this game exists. I don't do shilling the fuck ever. So if you could do me a favor, share this video. Let this stuff out there that there is an alternative. There is a fun, robust community growing here. We have a lot of fun on the Discord. So if you could all just share this video and click on the community links, I would appreciate it. There is no Patreon here. There's no subscribe star. All of this is generated by real sales, and it's not nearly as successful as it needs to be. But I will see you all tomorrow, and we will throw some shade. We will learn how to spell twine these spells together. And I will see you then. Bye bye.